Hello and welcome back to Gapeys Garden. A couple weeks ago I posted about my cherry tomatoes, so I thought I would do another video showing my non-cherry tomatoes. As you can see, I'm wearing a jacket today because it's a little bit chilly and we did just get some rain. But I wanted to take you on a tour of the 8 that I'm growing in the raised bed back here, and I've got 2 in the greenhouse. If you came here just to see what my favorite beefsteak tomato is this year, you can go ahead and skip to the end, because I am going to be covering all the other tomatoes first, and we'll share that one with you at the end. This year I grew 6 paste tomato varieties, which is more than I normally do, and I was hoping to do a video just on those, but 2 of those had issues, so I only actually have 4 to show. But let's go ahead and take a look at those first. The first one here is the least favorite of mine. So this one is called Black Icicle, and it is fairly productive. Let's take a look at the ripe ones down here. So they actually look pretty cool, but if you're thinking about growing these, do not bother. They taste really quite terrible. I'm probably going to end up giving those to the chickens because they just have really bad flavor, unfortunately. Next up, we have one called Pink Fang. This one is more unique. This one is pretty long and skinny. You can see how long that one is. And I did just try this one today, and it is much better tasting than the Black Icicle, but it's not my favorite that I've grown this year, and also it does have a splitting issue, and it also had quite a few that had blossom end rot. I've already picked off most of those with that issue, but I don't know if I'll grow that one again because it does tend to split and have blossom end rot issues, but it taste is okay. Now these next 2 have really good flavor, and I wouldn't mind growing either one again. The first one is called D'Amico, and it is a, I believe, Italian family heirloom, so I'm not sure you can even find seeds for this anywhere. I got this in a seed swap, but the fruits are fairly large. Unfortunately, I did have blossom end rot issues on a lot of the fruits on this one, but it has really good flavor. We have some more ripening up down here on the bottom. They do seem to have a wide range of sizes though. And then lastly we have Vilms. I don't think I had much of a blossom end rot issue on this variety, and as you can see it is pretty productive compared to the last ones that I showed, and this one just fell off. So I am a little overdue for harvesting some of these, but I really like the flavor of this one. It's pretty productive. So I would definitely recommend this one, and it is a little bit easier to find than the D'Amico. I mentioned there's 2 other paste tomatoes that I grew that I had some issues with, and one of those is this one here. This was supposed to be a Blue Beach paste tomato, but this is obviously not a paste tomato. It looks more like some kind of Italian variety that has a lot of ridges, so that is definitely not what it's supposed to look like, and not a paste tomato. So I don't really count this one as being a paste tomato because that is not what it's supposed to look like. And also I did try one of these the other day, and the flavor isn't really all that great, so I'm not going to be saving seeds from this one. Now this last paste tomato is called Fertunia. It's another family heirloom variety that is hard to find seeds for. But this one, I normally grow it in the greenhouse. It's one of my favorites, and it does really well in the greenhouse every year. But this year I decided to grow it outside of the greenhouse, and it has yet to set a single fruit. So you can see all these dead flowers here on this branch. It is trying to set some more flowers up here, but it's far too late in the season for any of those to set any tomatoes. But it looks very similar to the D'Amico I showed earlier, and it has really great flavor. It gets really large tomatoes, but it is just not liking it here outside of the greenhouse. And partly I think because of the weather we've had this year has just been really weird. In July and August we had 28 days where the overnight low was in the 40s, which is really not great for any tomato or pepper. But I'll show you the greenhouse tomatoes here in a few minutes, and you could see what a difference the greenhouse made. There's just 2 more varieties that I grew outside of the greenhouse besides the cherry tomatoes and the ones I've showed you. And this one here is the Bulgarian Triumph. And this is kind of a neat tomato. It is very firm, so I think it probably stores pretty well. This is the first time I've tried this one. It has really good flavor, and it seems to be pretty productive, but the only problem is that this one seems to take a really long time to ripen. So I've only had, I think, 4. It looks like these are, pretty sure these are ripe, even though they almost look like they're not. But the one I harvested today was really good flavor. So I definitely really like this one, but it does need a longer season. And the last one out here is called Thunder Mountain. I had a lot of problems with this one, and it wasn't just me. I've talked to other people that have grown it, and they had similar issues. But if you look at the bottom of any of these tomatoes, this one actually isn't too bad, but there's a lot of it's not really blossom end rot. I don't know what you would call it. But like this one here, there's just a lot of weird stuff going on at the bottom of the tomatoes, and it usually ends up just kind of rotting. Let's take a look at these ones. These ones aren't too bad, but some of the earlier ones are just really bad. But I don't see any ripe ones. I've picked a couple. The flavor isn't too bad, but they're just really, most of them are just not really usable. All right, here we go. These are the last 2 tomatoes that I have, and they are in the greenhouse. Both of them have grown really well in here, way better than any of the ones outside. So this first one here is called Captain Lucky, and this one did have a tendency to crack quite a bit. So I don't know that I'll grow this one again. The flavor isn't too bad, but the cracking is just really terrible on this one. Pretty much every single one has had that one's really bad. So I've been feeding most of these to the chickens and just kind of shaving off some of the ends that aren't damaged, but definitely not going to grow this one again because of all the cracking issues it has. All right, here it is. This is my favorite tomato that I've grown this year. It's a really nice beefsteak. It's a fairly rare variety and kind of hard to find seeds, and I'll tell you why. So these tomatoes are humongous. At least most of them are pretty large. Some of them are not quite as large. So here's a smaller one, but most of them are really good size. They're really meaty. They have virtually no seeds inside. And that's why these are so rare, because it's hard to get seeds out of these. I've harvested, I think, 4 or 5 of them, and out of all those, I've gotten 1 seed. The last tomato that I opened up all it had is 1 seed, and all the rest had no seeds at all. But it has really good flavor. It seems to be pretty productive. I haven't had any issues with blossom end rot on it. It has had a little bit of cracking on the top, but really not much at all compared to a lot of the other tomatoes that I'm growing this year. So if you can get your hands on some of these seeds, definitely give it a try. I don't think I'm going to have any available to trade because, like I said, I'm only getting 1 seed off of 1 tomato. So we'll see if some of these bigger ones have more seeds, but I have a feeling that they're not going to. I think I'm going to go ahead and harvest this really big one. I've been eyeing this one and I just can't wait to see how much it weighs. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one in and we'll cut it open. Look at that monster. Let's see how much it weighs. So we're looking at 897 grams, which is pretty much exactly 2 pounds. So that's a big boy. This is definitely the biggest one I've harvested so far, so maybe the bigger the tomato, the more seeds it'll have. We're going to go ahead and cut it crosswise here. Well, it looks like we do have a few seeds. I see a couple here and here, so maybe we'll get to harvest a few more. But as you can see, this is a really meaty tomato, and there's not really much pockets except for those on the outside. So this is a super good tomato for sandwiches and burgers This actually might be a little too big for those, but most of them aren't quite this big. So there's probably 2 or 3 on the plant that are about this size, but most of them are a little bit smaller and the perfect size for sandwiches. I hope you enjoyed this tomato tour, and I hope you're able to find some seeds for this orange crushed tomato because it is so good. Let me know what your favorite beefsteak is in the comments below, and maybe I'll give it a try next year. Good luck finding these seeds. So good. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.